In the quiet spaces between breaths, where the veil between worlds grows thin, there exists a prayer, a whispered incantation older than cathedrals, older than empires, older than the ink that once dared to transcribe it. It is a prayer that survived the burning of libraries, the silencing of mystics, and the erasure of entire lineages who carried its flame. They tried to bury it beneath dogma, drown it in the noise of modernity, and scatter its syllables into the winds of time. Yet here it remains, not as a relic, but as a living current, a river of light flowing beneath the surface of history, waiting to flood the parched soil of human longing. This is no ordinary prayer. It does not beg or bargain. It does not kneel before the altars of scarcity or fear. It is a prayer that remembers, a prayer that echoes the first utterance of creation, when the divine spoke light into the void and set the stars singing. To speak it is to step into a cosmic choreography, aligning the rhythm of your breath with the pulse of galaxies. It is a key, forged in the furnace of eternity, meant to unlock the hidden chambers of the soul. But why was it feared? Why did kings and councils, scribes and inquisitors labor to erase it from scrolls, from memory, from the very air? Because they knew, as all who grasp at power know, that true prayer is not a petition. It is a revolution. Consider the burning bush that spoke to Moses, a flame that did not consume, a voice that did not echo, a mystery that refused to be extinguished. So too is this sacred prayer a fire that cannot be quenched, for it burns not with heat, but with the pure frequency of attention. It is said that when the Temple of Solomon fell, the Ark of the Covenant was not lost, but dissolved into the collective breath of those who knew how to invoke the unpronounceable name. This prayer carries that same ark within its syllables, a vessel of presence no tomb can contain. Yet here we are, millennia later, in an age of algorithms and amnesia, where the sacred is reduced to slogans and the profound to pixels. We have forgotten that prayer is not a transaction, but a transfiguration and alchemy that turns the lead of our suffering into the gold of awakened vision. This erasure was no accident. To sever humanity from its innate capacity to commune with the infinite is to cage a star. But stars, as you know, cannot be caged. They explode. They become supernovas. They seed new worlds. The story of this prayer is written in the margins of forbidden texts, in the carvings of forgotten caves, in the silent tears of saints who are invisibility as their armor. It is the prayer the Gnostics guarded in codices buried beneath Egyptian sands, the prayer the Cathars carried into pyres rather than surrender, the prayer that Sufis spin into ecstatic dance to outwit the censors of the heart. It is the prayer Christ taught in whispers to his disciples after the crowds dispersed, the one the Gospel of Thomas cryptically calls the keys to the kingdom hidden in the turning of the sun. But how does a prayer survive annihilation? The same way light survives the dark, by becoming inseparable from the fabric of existence. They could burn the parchment, but not the resonance. Silence the voices, but not the vibration. For this prayer is not a sequence of words. It is a pattern, of fractal of divine logic that replants itself in every generation, disguised as folktales, encoded in hymns, hidden in plain sight, like a sapphire lodged in the wall of a beggar's hut. It works not because of its antiquity, but because it mirrors the architecture of reality itself, the same architecture that binds hydrogen to oxygen, thought to manifestation, breath to spirit. To engage with it now is to join a lineage of rebels and revelators, those who dared to cup their hands around the fading ember and breathe it back to brilliance. This is not an act of nostalgia, but of reclamation. The veil they tried to impose, the veil of separation, of unworthiness, of spiritual illiteracy, is tearing. And through its rents, the old light pours urgent and undimmed. But be warned, this prayer is not safe. It will not grant you comfort. It will dismantle your illusions. It will not affirm your smallness. It will invoke your sovereignty. It is a sword that cuts the strings of manipulation, a mirror that reflects not your face, but your essence. They tried to erase it because it reminds us of what we are, holograms of the infinite, dreaming ourselves finite. And in a world built on the hypnosis of limitation, remembrance is the ultimate heresy. So let us begin where all true beginnings start, in the dark, in the quiet, and the unspoken ache for something beyond name. Let us trace the contours of this prayer, not as historians, but as archaeologists of the soul, brushing away the dust of dogma to reveal the sigil beneath. The journey will demand everything, but then so does the truth.